Hey guys, good morning. We get to discover today some of the ways in which the gospel went to the Gentiles, and even Paul and his defense amongst other Christians on how God was working in a very special and unique way outside of just the Jewish traditions and cultures, which are the immediate recipient of the very incredible work that Christ did there on the cross. And so we're in Galatians chapter 2 today. It starts from verse 7. It says, "But on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel for the uncircumcised had been committed to me as the gospel for the circumcised was to Peter, for he who worked effectively in Peter for the apostleship to the circumcised also worked effectively towards me to the Gentiles. And when James, Cephas, John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me, they gave me Barnabas, the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles, and they to the circumcised. They desired only that we should remember the poor, the very thing which I also was eager to do." So Paul, we know that as the gospel starts to go and transform the Gentiles, he's compelled. He goes back to Jerusalem to get kind of the blessing, give a testimony of what God was doing, and get the blessing of the leaders, the elders, the pastors of really the early Christian church, to confirm that the leadership and him were on the same page, making sure that as he's sent out with a blessing. It's such an important thing when God does send us out into some form of ministry or place that you want to have kind of the blessing of those who would be sending you, and not just going off rogue and running the risk of starting your own thing. And as he shares the stories and people see what God has done, they hear about it. Guys like James, the brother of Jesus. You'd have Cephas, which would have been Peter, John. Those guys would have realized that, wow, what is happening with Paul is the same thing that was happening with Peter among the circumcised, a great evangelistic movement of all kinds of people that were getting saved from the pagan Gentiles. This would have been such a place, a moment of rejoicing, so much so that they take and they send Barnabas with them and kind of hand him off, someone who can really be another point of authority to come alongside of Paul as he's on his missionary journey, sharing the good news and the gospel. He said, listen, just remember one thing. Just remember the poor, which the Jerusalem church at that time was poor, and Paul would take up offerings regularly so that they might be able to encourage and strengthen those Jews there in Jerusalem that were doing the amazing foundational work of Christianity. And so what does this give for us today? Well, it gives us something that is so important, right? Whenever we do something, we would love to have the blessing of those who are truly around us, right? To be able to see the hand of God, to be patient with the work of God until, we would be able to know that, not only am I compelled, but other people, those who God has placed in leadership, are also compelled in the same direction, and that blessing is so important. I know when we went to plant the church here in Georgia, I really was so thankful that we received a blessing, a prayer, just the heart of sending from Calvary Chapel, Melbourne. It was that which gave Jessica and I a sense of confidence in the fact that we're not just all on our own, but rather we have those who would be praying for us. We would have those who would have seen that God is doing a work in and through our lives, and it would strengthen and encourage that. And I think a big part of what we see today is the fact that there was a blessing that was sent with us from a church that was over us. It's my excitement to know that there will be times when we get to send people out as well as a church, and we as a church get to bless those who are going out and basically affirm what God is already doing in their heart. And so if the Lord is calling you, stirring in your life in some way, shape, or form, be patient. Be waiting. Look forward to a time when you can be sent out with an incredible blessing. But in the meantime, you know what? We're unified. That's the idea. It really was seeking out unity for the sake of the gospel. And I'll tell you what, when somebody sees unification within a church, it can be transformational, right? Not the infighting or the bickering, which I'm so thankful we don't deal with, right? But we're unified, and people want to be a part of that, and it changes their lives. So I love you guys. God bless you all. I pray you're encouraged and strengthened in the